Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're going to be jumping down into the world of BTC, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and all that wonderful stuff. Here we are with Bitcoin paired up with USDT on the hourly chart, and Binance is our data source. As you can see, we've been tracking this move to the upside. We actually have, just in this last 1 hour, hit the lower end of the expectations and are getting rejected pretty hard. Here you can see that we're moving down pretty reasonably. So this actually does look like it has completed its expectations on this final fifth wave, although the sub-wave count is not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. It definitely doesn't have a really good wave count to it, but it is where it is expected to go. So we can either look at this as 3 waves or as a kind of 5-wave structure. I think a 3-wave move is probably going to be a little bit better for this one, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the 5 and actually go ahead and draw this in as if it were 3. So I would look at this thing as a potential move here of going up here into an A, down here in for B, and up here into C. Now, it's still possible that we do go up a little bit higher here, but it has already met those expectations under the 5-wave parameters that we've been talking about for the last couple of days. So it does look like we're done, but we'll see if this actually gets any form of recovery to the upside in a moment or two. But you can see the size of this wick here, heavy rejection from this area. So it's looking pretty reasonable on this 1 hour chart. So for the most part, that looks to be coming in and completing our bigger macro 3-wave structure. As you can kind of see, we have the sub-wave counting, things like that going on. But over here, you can see the bigger A, B, and C structure. If I actually go ahead and remove all these micro counts off of here, you'll get a good idea as to kind of what is going on there. You can kind of see that it's this giant 3-wave move overall. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just move that over here and pull that over here. At the moment, it looks like this here is the high point and we're getting rejected. It's still possible that we push up a higher, but it doesn't look very good at this particular point in time. Considering that's the latest peak and the rejection that has come on in here, I would still expect some more turbulence in the market. Essentially, if I bring the stochastic RSIs up, if there's a bounce to be had, it's going to be here on the hourly chart with some form of progression to the upside. You can see over here on the right-hand side, though, we're overbought on the 4-hour, the 8-hour, and the daily charts. So there's very much a limited amount of room to the upside and a lot more room to the downside. So essentially, we are looking for a bigger pull to the downside. As I said, if this is a completed move here of 3 waves like this, then we are going to be talking about coming down very, very significantly. If we take a look at this on a bigger piece here, I would be looking at this from a 3-wave structure with an A down here to this local low of about 15,476 up to the recent high that we've just hit, down again, falling into those new lower lows. So essentially, it looks like pretty promising move to the downside, and we'll see how that kind of plays out over the bigger macro time frame. One of the things that I think is incredibly important that we do focus in on from time to time is the macro views. We've been talking about macro views here for Bitcoin for quite some time. All of these higher highs and higher lows that always tend to break to the downside. When we start seeing the lower lows and the lower highs, they break to the upside. Right now, though, we were tracking pretty reasonably on the higher highs and the higher lows, and we're looking for some kind of breakdown. Very, very minor stuff at the moment here, though. If I throw in a 200 EMA and then throw on the 50 EMA, you can see that these two things are looking for a collision course. And basically, when we get the 50 crossing below the 200 EMA here, we are going to see what is known as a death cross, and people are going to react quite negatively to that as well. So there's definitely limited amounts of upside price action here and a lot more to the downside. We can, of course, couple this with a few additional things, specifically when we start talking about what is going on with wallet counts. Here you can see in 2018's bear market, we had the 10,000 BTC wallets accumulating and then dump on to bring in the actual bear market low. At the moment, though, we are not seeing that. If you see if I can find where they actually are, let me find the correct wallets. This one just here. Okay, here you can see that they have been accumulating and have started to pull down a fair bit. You can also see here that the whales are also coming out of their positions. They're not backing it. In 2022 so far, we've seen a pretty much an accumulation with a 10,000 sized Bitcoin wallet, but recently has been pulling back to the downside. The same with the Bitcoin whales. They've been selling pretty much consistently since late February, I believe. Up here, this peak was, actually March, late March, when we were at the highest of around 48k. They've been de-risking and coming out. That's been pretty much a common message that we've been talking about, and it's pretty clear on this graph here. As Bitcoin's price action in orange here goes down, all we are seeing are big money basically flowing out of Bitcoin. So there isn't terribly too much positivity to be had here when it comes to what is going on with the wallet counts, where the big money is going. If we actually take a look at it from this count here, you can see that Kraken, the Bitcoin whales, these bigger wallets, they are basically coming out of their positions. Only really retail money flooding in here and basically soaking up the amount of Bitcoin that is being dumped from those inflows and the outflows. So essentially, when we take a look at the graphs and we take a look at everything that's going on chain, and as well as the price action here, there's nothing to be too confident with. It does look like we are coming towards this end of structure and getting rejected from here. So I would expect further downside, although there will be some turbulence on the smaller time frames. Essentially, this particular pattern is one I talk about quite a bit from time to time, where we see these kind of moves upwards, consolidate, move upwards, consolidate, move upwards, consolidate, and eventually they actually repeat the same pattern coming down, and they come down like this. As a market maker, love that particular pattern. So essentially, Bitcoin here looks like we're coming to end of structure. I do think we're going to be heading down into the daily chart. So if I come over into our daily chart, we have this kind of scoped out at the moment. If we've hit this high point, then it is going to change our outlook ever so slightly. If I go ahead and pull this up and just pull this onto that recent wick high point, we're coming down to around the 14,744 approximately. That's subject to change depending on whether or not this B wave pushes up any higher. But essentially, we are looking at downward price action. That hasn't really changed. We are looking for new lower lows and all those wonderful things, and some good amount of movement to the upside. Once this particular area down here is done, I am expecting a bigger move to the upside overall, and not just for Bitcoin, but also for altcoins as well. Don't know where that's going to go, whether that's going to breach this high point or not, whether it's only going to be a 20% move before going back down again. All that stuff is yet to be decided, but what we do know is that we have to kind of fill this void. We have to come back down here. We have to finish this area off, and essentially what we've got here is a lot of momentum to the downside that needs to be wiped out. So do expect some downward price pressure over a slightly longer macro period, but essentially maybe some smaller pumps here and there to enjoy if you are actively trading in the case of BTC. So I'm going to leave this video there, just a brief kind of update as to what is going on with Bitcoin. Nothing unusual, pretty much business as usual. If you found it useful, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Don't forget to join us down in Discord though, guys. It is the centralized hub of everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. You're missing a trick if you are not in that Discord server. Guys, until the next one, have a fantastic day.